take a moment to reflect. What if some of the most meaningful moments of your life are the ones you're rushing straight past? Not the big moments, not the once-in-a-lifetime moments, not that retreat or that holiday or the breakthrough. I'm talking about the ordinary moments, the ones that quietly make up the majority of your life. Because somewhere along the way, many of us have been taught that the sacred lives live somewhere else, in a church, in a temple, a retreat, a ceremony, a meditation cushion, a special place we visit when we want to feel connected. Meanwhile, the rest of life begins to be something we simply try to get through, like the emails, the dishes, the traffic, the errands, folding up the laundry, picking up the kids by a certain time from school, or that endless to-do list. But what if we've got it backwards? I've been thinking about this. What if the sacred isn't hiding somewhere else? What if it's already here? Welcome to No Fluff Spirituality, business, life and spirit for the new era. Grounded, clear, real. And I'm Basha Mai, and today we're exploring a question that has quietly transformed over the years the way I see life. Let's dive in. I sometimes wonder how many people are waiting for life to begin, or waiting for the next chapter, the next relationship, the next holiday, or that next level of success, the next opportunity. I mean, I can speak to that. I'm an entrepreneur, and of course we finish a project and then we're going, okay, what's next? What would I like to create now? And there's nothing wrong with that. Yet, while all this is happening and we're sort of waiting for that next opportunity, life is still quietly happening, right? Today, in this moment, in the conversation you're having, and the coffee you're drinking, the person sitting across from you, and the dogs sleeping at your feet perhaps, or in the garden outside your window. It's easy to overlook all these things because they're familiar to us. But perhaps familiarity is exactly what blinds us to their value. Perhaps we've become so focused on what comes next that we've stopped noticing what is already here, unfolding. I'd like to share a snippet of a life story. So for over 25 years, I found myself returning to the island of Bali and Indonesia. Some people call Bali the island of the gods. And yes, there's something incredibly special about that place. But what stayed with me most over the years isn't just the incredible scenery, the warmth, the magical vibe, the energy, and that sort of magical flow that happens when you're there, like serendipity is on tap. It's the devotion. That's what really is the piece for me, and I'd love to share. Everywhere you go, you see the local people making small daily offerings, sometimes large offerings for certain ceremonies. These little baskets filled with flowers, rice, incense offerings to the gods. They're placed outside homes, outside businesses, shops, doorsteps, pavements, every single day. And what struck me wasn't the ritual itself. It was observing and also joining in. That attitude and intentionality behind it. Nobody seemed to be rushing through it. Nobody appeared to be treating it as an inconvenience, no matter their age, before getting on with an important part of their day. The offering was the important part. The sweeping was the important part. The preparation was the important part. The devotion was woven and is woven into everyday life. And that's actually what stopped me in my tracks, because it made me realize how often we separate the sacred from the ordinary, as though one matters and the other sort of doesn't. Another life story snippet. Many years ago, I had the privilege of spending time with the late Sobonfu Some, the gifted African wisdom keeper and author from Burkina Faso. We were both presenting at the same conference, and I remember her speaking about something that stayed with me long after the event had ended. We were sitting together in the beautiful park-like grounds. She spoke to me about bringing ritual and ceremony back into everyday life, and the illustration was her life growing up in the villages in Africa and how she came to the Western world to spread that just by her presence, by her being, by her devotion, and her amazing books she's authored. She sees it not as something reserved for special occasions, not as something complicated. And it's for all people, as a way of honouring life itself. That conversation stayed with me for years. And my way of remembrance to her, and also devotion. I then created a power portal, power spot, altar, whatever it is for you. Just a space in the house, a little table, candles, photos of deceased loved ones, or photos of your cat, whatever. Little vase of flowers from the garden. In my home. Symbolic and a way of bringing ritual and ceremony into my life and my family's life every day. And every morning I would spend some time there, or do my morning yoga there. Because when I look around today, I think many of us are longing for exactly that, each in their own unique way. Not as something like a self-development tool or more information, but a deeper relationship with our own lives in some way, a way of moving through the day more consciously, more reverently, with more devotion, more away to what is already here. Somewhere along the way, many of us stopped creating rituals. We stopped making special occasions special or marking transition. We stopped pausing. We stopped acknowledging the significance of ordinary moments. Yet every culture throughout history understood the value of ritual and ceremony in their own way, in their own belief system. Not because life was extraordinary every day, but because ritual, the art and the practice, help people remember that life itself was extraordinary. Wouldn't you agree? Life itself is extraordinary. In much of the Western world, I feel like we've become masters of compartmentalization. We have our spiritual life and our real life. Some merge them more than others. No judgment. We have our reflective moments and our productive moments, our moments of connection and our moments of responsibility, our moments of focus and our moments of a bit of daydreaming, perhaps. But perhaps that separation itself is not the problem, because life doesn't arrive in neatly labelled compartments. The soul doesn't care whether you're meditating, washing dishes, walking the dog, preparing a meal, building a business, or quietly watching a sunset at the beach. Life is life, and presence is presence. And what changes, I feel, is the quality of attention we bring to it, the consciousness we bring to it, the reverence we bring to it, devotion. And this next bit might be the most important piece that I'd really like to bring into today's episode. The sacred isn't something you visit, it's something you notice. It's the steam rising from your morning coffee, the sound of the rain on the roof, the way sunlight moves and dances across a room, the conversation you almost rushed through, the meal prepared with love and care, and it just tasted so much better. That hug, the prayer, the act of sweeping a floor. Not because these things are extraordinary, but because they are alive. There's a certain consciousness. And because you are alive enough to notice them in that devotional intentionality. Perhaps sacredness has less to do with what we're doing and more to do with how we're doing it. What if making a cup of tea becomes a conscious ritual? What if walking to your car every day became an opportunity for a conscious walk to the car, like really tuning into every step you make? What if preparing a meal became a small act of devotion? There is an energetic difference, a vibrational difference. Try it. You'll feel it. And not because the activity changes or you do something different, because you're changing your frequency and your intentionality. We don't need more sacred spaces. We need to become more conscious in the places we already are, right? If you'd like to experiment with this, here are 2 simple ways to begin. The first is what I call a threshold ritual. Choose one doorway you pass through every day. Your front door, perhaps your office door, even opening your laptop door, a portal. It's like a portal. Pause for one breath before crossing that threshold. Simply ask yourself, how do I want to arrive on the other side? One breath, one intention, and that's it. How do I want to arrive on the other side? The second exploration or experiment is to choose one ordinary daily activity. For example, making tea, preparing breakfast, watering a plant, walking to your car. And just for a few moments, give it your full attention. And that really means no multitasking, no rushing, no cell phone, please. Treat it as a mini ceremony, a conscious act, a moment of devotion to and for your own life. You may be surprised how different that moment feels. Now, as we close, I want to touch on something we've spoken about throughout this series. Trust, because slowing down requires trust, presence requires trust, and recognizing the sacred within everyday life requires trust too. Trust that you don't need to constantly chase the next thing. Trust that life isn't happening somewhere else. Trust that this moment matters. Because when we stop fighting against our lives and start participating in them, I know for myself something shifts. We've been so taught to push, 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 or fight, fight, fight to get through something. Yet, when we trust, we begin to notice what has been quietly waiting for us all along. What has been waiting for us all along? If you're enjoying these conversations and would like to stay connected, you'll find links in the show notes below. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd be grateful if you subscribed or followed so you don't miss future conversations. I'm going to leave you with this thought. What if the life you've been searching for isn't waiting somewhere in the future? What if parts of it are already here, hidden inside ordinary moments, all those moments, ordinary moments, you've simply stopped noticing? The next cup of coffee, the next conversation, the next walk, the next meal, the next breath. Because perhaps the sacred isn't reserved for special occasions after all. Perhaps it's woven quietly through the fabric of everyday life, waiting patiently for us to notice. This is no fluff spirituality, business life and spirit for the new era. Grounded, clear, real. I'm Basha Maya, and I'll see you next week.